It's about culture, good vibes, and gathering around the table.
The dish and the ingredients themselves, even if it's in its more rustic form, is a thing of beauty.
Our culture is rich, our food is flavorful, and our people are friendly. When we gather around the table, we celebrate milestones. We laugh until we cry, and we create memories that last a lifetime. Good food brings people together.
Food brings us together, but it also tells how individual we are.
Food is love. It's comfort. It reminds us of our roots. Caribbean nations have long been celebrated for our food. The flavors are bold, the colors are vibrant, and the dishes are hearty. There's nothing quite like it because there is nothing quite like us. Welcome to the Caribbean Cookout Show. Join us as we meet some of the most creative and talented Caribbean chefs who will share their passion for food and culinary traditions. Chef Jason Howard comes from the beautiful island of Barbados. He began as a porter, and his ambition took him to unknown heights. But that's before a fire came. It destroyed his home, and it forced him to live on the streets. But that's not where his story ended. You know, Chef, yours is a story about determination. But I really want to start at the beginning. Do you remember what really sparked that passion for cooking?
What sparked my passion for cooking is seeing others enjoy my food and seeing the happiness that it brings to people, you know, and actually also adventuring into Caribbean cuisine and developing it into what I call modern Caribbean cuisine today.
I know you started really early, right? You started young, you started cooking for your family, but what about when you started cooking professionally? Do you remember?
I started cooking professionally when I was about 21.
Okay.
The age of 21, and some would say that is a late start, but for me that was quite, I would say that was when I needed to start cooking. And to be honest, I only started serving my own food, my modern Caribbean cuisine, in my early 30s. So one of the first dishes that I ever actually placed my hands upon was a mango shrimp that we used to serve in the Sasso kitchen when I was a porter. The chefs were not in kitchen at all. And, you know, the waitress came in, she put it down, and, you know, she was quite upset that no one was there. I just used my initiative, I did the dish, and after I finished the dish and I went back into my section, which was the pot wash, the chef came through and he saw the dish and he said, well, finally they got it right. And, you know, I didn't say anything. He just walked away until, you know, I said, finally, chef, I did it. And, you know, he reeled me for that. But from then on, he allowed me to cross-train. And that is when it started. And I can remember the first dish I ever made cross-training was a tomato bruschetta. And hearing the guests and their compliments and stuff, it was amazing. So I think that is what started me down the path of being a chef.
And, you know, I know you had kind of a life-altering event happen to you, that fire. Can you share that fire? Like, what exactly happened there, and how were you able to come out of that?
But I felt that fire helped me change my perspective in how I could be resourceful to myself and how I could do things in a different way. And to be honest, it evolved me as an individual.
Yeah, helped your story to continue.
Correct. We're going to be doing steamed fish and hard food, which we call steamed fish and hard food, something anyone can make at home. So here, I have some fresh Florida snapper. And this fish is perfect for steamed fish. It's soft, it's tender, it cooks pretty fast, and you can get it technically anywhere. Also, we have hard food, meaning vegetables like breadfruit, but it's a fruit. It had seeds inside, so it's a fruit. We have yams, we have okra, we have sweet potato, we have English potato and eddos as well in this dish. We're steaming it also in the broth of the fish. So we're using the fish bones to boil a beautiful broth as well. So what we're gonna do is remove the fish off the bone, but you can prefer to keep your bones in if you want to. We're gonna start by removing the fillets of the fish as well. And what I'm doing at the moment is just riding the bone, riding my knife on the bone of the fish down its back. And as you can see, the flesh just comes away from the bone. This is the second fillet. We're going to ride the bone again. You have to remove the gills when boiling the stock, because if you leave the gills in, it makes your stock kind of raw. you get this raw fish flavor. So you want to remove the gills and you want to put the carcass of the fish into running cold water and just leave it for 10 to 5 minutes. When we come to this side, we have some pin bones here that we're going to remove with just a slit coming up. And this is an old technique my grandmother used to do. She just holds and pulls. You're going to just see it just walk straight off. And that will remove all the bones from here. So right now we have a clean, fresh fillet of Florida snapper. So basically steamed fish is a dish that in Barbados, usually if you're ailing, you're sick, you know, on a cold day, we would basically do this one pot. And this is everything you need. When you have a flu, you have sore throat and stuff, this is something your grandparents would make for you. As we call it in Barbados, strong food. I won't elaborate on that one. First person to ever do this dish for me is my grandparents. You know, it's effortless. It's something that was being passed down generation to generation, and I feel everyone adds their spin to it, so feel free to add your spin to it as well. Okay guys, on to the next step is steaming your veg. So we have our yellow yam, we have our breadfruit, we have carrots, some eddos. You gotta have eddos, you gotta have eddos, trust me. Some English potato, some sweet potato. And to finish the dish, we're not gonna put it in the pot to boil, some okras. And one of the keys to this, to get your vegetables nice and not too mushy, is to have your water boiling before. So I've already prepared some water and I have it boiling. So all we're gonna do is drop in your yellow yam, some carrots as well, just washed. All the vegetable I already have is washed. Carrots, sweet potato, eddos, and your potato. Remember, all the veg cooks at different periods of time. Also, we're gonna have the breadfruit. But what we're gonna do is we just split it in two, down through the middle. And we're just gonna remove this portion here. We just drop this in and we've made sure we washed. We're gonna drop some fresh thyme and about 2 cloves of garlic and just leave that to steam. As you can see right here, it's not that red anymore. This is what we want. We want it to look fresh, clean, and nice. What we're gonna do to this now, we're just gonna add some garlic, just roughly chopped. Nothing fancy, you're making a broth and we're making something quite fresh and quite clean. I already have water on the boil for this, not too much. You don't really want to overpower it with that as well. For this as well, fresh thyme and 1 green Scotch bonnet. Try not to use the red or the yellow. The green ones are not that hot, they carry more flavor. So when you're trying to flavor something, try to use the green Scotch bonnet. Green Scotch bonnet will work miracles for you. Onion as well. So we're going to take all of this together.
Oh, chef, it's smelling so good in here.
Yeah, it definitely is.
What do we have cooking on the stove?
So basically we have our Florida snapper broth
Ooh,
going.
Yeah, I see the thyme in there. It's
Yes, and you can see the
very
green
luscious.
Scotch bonnet as well. Nice.
Yeah.
And that is going to be perfect. Also, we have our hard food, basically ground provisions that we spoke about earlier. We have them boiling, we have them getting ready to, you know, do their thing. But one thing we need to do is to make sure we pull the carrots and pull other vegetables that are smaller out before everything just turns into a mush.
Yeah. So how often do you eat something like this?
To be honest, this is like comfort food in my household in Barbados, but usually after I finish refining it and stuff, it's something that is beautiful and it's something that we can feed the diners and stuff and give them an experience of Barbados as well.
I love it. You know, in Jamaica, we have a lot of manish water, right? You heard of that before?
Yes, I heard of manish.
Yeah. So soup is hearty. It's lovely. We all love it. So of course, this is something that you can make easily, right?
Yes, it's something you can make easily.
All right. So if you want to try this at home, make sure you check out the QR code. I know that we have folks getting ready and they're gathering. I'm going to go check in with them, but I cannot wait to try this dish.
Oh, great.
All right.
See
We'll
you
see you out there.
Cheers.
While our chef is still cooking in the kitchen, we want to check in with our resident chef of spirits, Louis Estrada. Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so first of all, I love that name, Chef of Spirits. Tell me the background there.
So when Instagram started, I was, deep into the bar industry.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of steal a name that would represent me. I like to call myself the Chef of Spirits. Making cocktails on the bar side is all about palate, right? And mixing flavors. It's what a chef does, behind in the kitchen. So for me, it was, how do I, stick out per se in the social media world? And Chef of Spirits was where I landed.
All right, and of course, the Caribbean Cookout Show is all about relationships. You also have roots in the Caribbean too. Talk about that.
I do. So my parents are from Cuba.
Yes.
The culture runs deep, and I'm someone that loves the story and the ancestry of my Cuban people. So for me, it's all my food that I cook, all the cocktails that I make and kind of pair, have a lot to do with the culture and representing where I'm from. So that's where the inspiration comes from in general.
Absolutely. So I know tonight we'll be dining with some Bajan steamed fish, also some boiled hard food. So what did you decide to pair with that?
So because Chef Jason Howard was doing a fish dish, which is predominantly paired with a nice light white wine, I came up with a proper gin martini.
Okay.
So proper gin martinis have been around for a long time. You're gonna see different variations out there. I come up with a variation that I love myself, that's made with orange bitters. We use a lot of citrus in the islands, especially orange and sour orange. And this goes well balanced with the dish that Chef Jason created for us. So, proper gin martini is something that I love to have at home.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think pairs well and pairs amazing with this dish.
All right, so let's jump into it. I'm excited.
Okay, so three easy ingredients, okay? We're starting with a couple dashes of orange bitters. And these are gonna go 1, 2, 3. We're then moving on to our extra dry vermouth. We're gonna do an ounce of this. And then we're using a London dry gin today.
London,
okay,
yes,
we're
all
using
right.
Bulldog today. And today we're switching to 2 ounces of London dry gin. Now we're gonna have to dilute this now. This is what the cocktail asked for. So, let's get a lot of ice in here. So what we're using today are Nick and Nora glasses. This is just a fancy martini glass. Okay, we're gonna get a nice dilution in this. Get all the juniper notes out from the gin.
I love that this is, you're walking us through it. It doesn't seem too complicated. It seems like something that we can make at home too.
Absolutely. You know what? I like to do a lot of cocktails for me that the audience and anyone can make in their own kitchen.
Yeah.
So they can enjoy it at home. So this is just a pour over right here, right to the tip of the glass. And then we're expressing some orange oils today.
Okay.
So we'll express some orange oils over the drink. We'll do it on the rim as well, because everything is, when you're doing cocktails, is smell to taste.
Okay.
Kind of just like food. So we'll be placing right there, and that's your proper gin martini.
Well, as you just learned, that this is a drink you can easily make at home. If you want to learn more, learn about the recipes, check out our QR code, but stay right there because we have a conversation coming up you don't want to miss.
So I have my chilled oil, vegetable oil. Feel free to use olive oil, feel free to use whatever oil you want. So all we're gonna do is add the oil. And remember, it's always good to chill your oil. And all we're gonna do is add the coriander to that. With a touch of salt. Lid on and blend. All we want to do is just pass this. You can see it's a nice vibrant green. And that's that. We're just gonna let that sit and pass. While this is passing, and as you can see, this is the green we're going to want to achieve. So what I'm doing at this moment is brainwashing my vegetables. This is something would not be typically done from what I had learned from my grandparents. If they've seen me doing this, they would ask me, what nonsense are you doing, boy? But, you know, we're trying to get Caribbean cuisine elevated to new levels. So what I'm doing at the moment, you will see doing some nice brainwash veg. This veg will be going into the broth and just, you know, steaming. And what we want to do, we just want to remove the skin just by rubbing the skin. And sweet potato, this will happen for you and your sweet potato. Good. So brainwash this as well. We're going to be getting some nice small cubes. And when I say brainwash, I mean nice small cubes. Edo is a superfood. Edo is basically a root. It's family to yam, cassava, or what we call toro as well. You might not recognize it from being steamed like this, but you might recognize it like this. So this was brought over to the Caribbean from the Polynesians. The first island this landed on was St. Vincent and Grenadines. From there, it just spread throughout the Caribbean. But in Barbados, this is a staple. This is much as a staple as the potato is a staple to the English. So what we're gonna do, we just wanna remove the skin from the back of the breadfruit, and you can see it expose that nice yellow flesh. And again, what we're gonna be doing is dice again. Guys, on to the next step, and I have all my vegetables diced in nice little neat cubes, or what we call in the professional chef world, brainwash. I have my fish back out the refrigerator, ready, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna season my fish gently with a bit of oil. So just want a little bit of oil and some salt on both sides. Okay, so next step, we're just gonna add some oil to the pan. A little bit, you don't want to add too much oil. You don't want your broth greasy. You don't want your broth tasting just full of oil. And in some diced vegetables that I've diced. Next, we have some diced celery and some spring onions. And that goes in as well. We just want that to sear, you could hear them. We're just gonna add some fresh thyme. Now, we have the fish broth that we've actually passed, we've sieved. And what we're going to do is just add and then we just cover and let come to a boil. So one of the next steps I'm going to do is add some soy lecithin to half of the broth that I have remaining. And this is, you know, the culinary side of things for me. So soy lecithin is to help this broth foam a bit more because I want to add a nice texture of foam on top of my broth. The next thing we're going to add is diced potatoes. These are raw. So we're just going to add our potatoes to our broth. And cover and boil. The next step we're going to do is blend our broth with the soy lecithin. So I have a stick blender. And what we're going to do is just blend, and you can see the soy lecithin has already started to work. It's magic. And the next step is our veg that we've brainwashed, our cube. So all we're gonna do is add this to our broth. At this stage as well, we're gonna add some butter. And we're gonna bring that back to the boil on a high heat. We're just gonna slice some okras very thinly. And what we wanna do is, this is just to add to our broth right in the end. Next step, this is come back to the boil. And what we're going to do is rest this fish just on the top. And look at that, guys, that is gorgeous. You have that nice broth and you have the fish just sitting in the broth, absorbing all those juices. So what we're gonna do is, just for presentation purposes, we're gonna remove the fish and just set this aside. So as you can see, all the nice dices, all that hard work we put in, paid off. So next step, some nice veg in the plate. You just want to give a generous portion of broth. You just want to lay the fish like this, making our oils and fermenting them and leaving them to sit. This oil has been sitting for over a year. This is something that has been passed down to me and been passed on to my grandmother that we do. And this is one of my signatures that I add to my dishes. And this is more Caribbean than anything else I can tell you. So what I'm gonna do, because this thing is fire, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put some drops around. We're not gonna put too much because, you know, we don't want you not to enjoy the dish. And what we're gonna do is with the herb oil, just gently around, nice drops. And this is the coriander. As I said before, what you can do is if you don't want to do the coriander oil, you think it's a bit too tedious, you can just slice some fresh coriander and sprinkle over. We have the soy lecithin foam, which is the fish broth. As I said, in the restaurant, we add this as a touch to make you know, like when seawater bubbles and stuff, to add that visual and that flavor. Because this is a texture as well to the dish. And there you go. Accentuate things. Just add one nice, beautiful, edible flower. And there you have it. Modern Caribbean cuisine in a plate.
I'm looking forward today to enjoying some of the fresh local bounty. I understand we're gonna enjoy some great Florida snapper.
Here's my dish that I've presented to you. It's steamed fish and hard food, something that is Barbadian at heart. And it has eddos, sweet potatoes, dasheen, yam, okra is one of my favorites. And it's made with some fresh Florida snapper.
It looks beautiful. What's the foam on top?
Yeah, the foam on top is actually the broth itself as well. So we just add the broth to give it a different texture, a different accent, and you know, just that visual of the sea.
So what exactly makes it Barbadian at heart? What is
Yeah,
that?
this is something that Barbadians will cook, and
Okay.
usually we make this a one pot. We would throw everything in the pot and just steam it. But I've refined it and made it quite classical for you, and I've added some touches that is from my grandmother as well, which is Scotch bonnet oil, and also I've added a gastric.
I'm always a big proponent of the local, seafood and the local produce and blending in the herbs and fruits and vegetables. Are we allowed to lift the bowl and lick it when we're done?
Of course, that is tradition.
Chef, I first of all, we gotta start eating at some point.
Yes.
But I've often called you the prince of modern day Caribbean cuisine. How do you think, or where do you think the Caribbean is in your style of cooking? Do you think we're coming along with you on this journey, or do you think that you stand alone in making refined Caribbean cuisine?
So I don't think I stand alone. I think everyone has the journey and everyone has the way of doing something. And refining a modern Caribbean cuisine is only utilizing modern tools and modern techniques to create classical dishes. You know, a lot of people ask me, then why do we change it, or why do you change Caribbean cuisine to modern Caribbean cuisine? Why do you need to do that? And my answer is, if we had to take the modern tools and the modern equipment we had and just say, hypothetically, put it in a time machine and give it to our ancestors, how would our food look today? You know, within time, we will be someone's ancestors. Do we want to leave them something? Do we want to move forward the food? So that is why I move forward the food. And I know everyone will do it in their own way. And I welcome that because, to be honest, it adds more to the cuisine and it adds more to creativity as well.
So you can still elevate these dishes without drawing too far away from
Correct.
home.
And this is an example of elevating, but not taking away from the dish. Right. I know we have a million brunoise in the plate and bowl. That takes time, but that is it. Time is something that is an ingredient in an amazing dish.
So I know you mentioned that you used a local fish, of course, but what is traditional? Is that traditional or what?
Traditional would be more dolphin, but in my restaurant and stuff, I use barracuda.
I think the key to it is you use what's available,
Yeah.
wherever it is.
Yeah.
You know, in
What's fresh.
Barbados, in Bahamas, in Florida, it is use what's available. But the technique, the style, the creativity can be the foundation, and then you build on it. You know what I mean? Because, like I told him already, I'm going to use this technique in an event that I
Well,
have.
that is amazing to hear because, to be honest, the inspiration from this dish I got was actually from when I went to Bahamas. I tasted boiled fish for breakfast, and I was like, wow, we have a dish like this. And to see it left from Bahamas to come to Barbados, to go back to
go back,
Bahamas, it's perfect.
So what would you say the similarities or differences are? So a dish like this from Bahamas versus Barbados.
We all have, in almost every Caribbean island, some sort of fish tea,
Yes.
fish broth, fish soup, sauce, something that comes from whatever was pre or post-colonial influences, etc. The Caribbean is a melting pot of amazing culinary stories. They're all going to have some sort of nostalgic relation to this dish. And so what Jason has done is simply refined it. But one of the things that I think what makes him unique and amazing to watch is he is not just trying to influence Bayesian food. He's trying to influence Caribbean food.
He's trying to elevate, right, the Caribbean food, and that if Haiti was able to, or like let's say any Caribbean country, but since I'm from Haiti, I'm gonna take Haiti example. If Haiti was able to build and be more rich and grow, this would be popular in Haiti. We would have maybe 10 chefs like you.
You know, this whole discussion about refinement and elevating, I mean, the dish and the ingredients themselves, even if it's in its more rustic form, is a thing of beauty. I mean,
Exactly.
but obviously those of us who are into the world of fine dining, the frustration for me is that there's so much great, delicious Caribbean cuisine, and I would love to see more fine dining experiences of the Haitian, of the Bahamian, of the Jamaican, and I think it's up to all of us because so many people just peg it into a hole of it should be just in a corner shop and it should be X amount of dollars, and they're not willing to pay more for that more refined experience that they're willing to do for things like French cuisine.
There's not so many differences. They're just things that are done differently, but we can all agree on one thing, that Caribbean cuisine is delicious.
The one-up that the Caribbean has on everybody in the fine dining world, I don't think elevated or refined Caribbean food will ever lose the soul that you see in the more casual dining. Look at this dish, for example. It's absolutely everything.
I've been blessed to be, you know, around diverse cultures my whole life. Can I just take a moment to just like sing the chef's praises? I don't know if that's allowed, because as a critic, I just want to pay like ultimate respect because the knife work, the way that all the different vegetables and components of the dish are just perfectly cubed. You can tell this is a classically trained chef. The flavors of the broth are so perfectly balanced between the essence of the sea with the fish broth and the heat from the Scotch bonnet peppers, which is just, you know, bringing me right to the islands. All praise to you, chef. That's
Thank you very much.
delicious.
Well, thank you. So this evening, the food, the conversation, and the company was amazing, and it was good to be in the presence of people that could see the potential and enjoy Caribbean cuisine from each facet of life.
The food was very, very delicious. And, you know, the presentation, the whole experience around the conversation and looking at how he has elevated such humble food is absolutely amazing.
Before we go, I want to say cheers to Chef Jason, of course. Cheers to Bayesian food. And cheers to season 2.
Season 2.
It has been an absolute joy to accompany you on this flavorful adventure. Remember, the enticing flavors of the Caribbean continue to beckon beyond the confines of your screen. Continue to explore and relish the diverse culinary treasures that this region has to offer. Until our next episode, farewell, and may your taste buds forever savor the delights of the Caribbean.